So like as income went down, expenses skyrocketed, food costs skyrocketed. And then you have your employees that you might not be able to have on that you still want to give them assistance.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the One World Your Story podcast. My name is Jamie. I'm your host, as many of you know, and I am joined here today with Alton. I don't even know your last name. McCoullagh. Okay. Who is the owner of Mac Nation, which is this super cute cafe behind us here.
Mac and Cheese Cafe.
Mac and Cheese Cafe, yes. Kind of in the middle of nowhere mountains. Yeah. I actually looked it up last night. It's called Indian Hills.
Indian Hills, yeah.
Because I thought this was Kittredge.
It's technically Morrison on a map. So
oh.
We're about 15 minutes past Red Rocks Amphitheater.
Okay, yes.
For reference to everybody else.
For anyone who's not in Colorado, really close to Red Rocks, my church. I miss it so much.
It's amazing.
And yeah, in the mountains, and I discovered you last week after a hike.
Yes.
And I stopped to get a beer, which is, I found out a new thing that you have anyway. So, and that's really all I know about you, Alton. So I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself and add anything to that I didn't already say.
Sure. We are a mac and cheese restaurant. We were established in 2015. I am from Indian Hills originally.
Oh, cool. I was hoping that was the case.
I am a local. And we are a mac and cheese restaurant. We serve 47 different kinds of mac and cheese based on the state's known cuisines. We just recently got our beer.
If people are not from Colorado, what are the state's well-known cuisines?
Well, Colorado is, of course, our pork green chili.
Yep.
Yes, which Colorado is known. I know New Mexico can argue with that sometimes, but...
No, please. I'm a native, too. It's from here, our green chili.
Another example, the New York is buffalo chicken.
Okay. Which that's debatable too.
Yes,
a lot of people say,
but people from Buffalo will say. St. Louis is the St. Louis ribs.
Nice.
4 bone-in ribs on top.
Okay, so you're doing quiz based on all different places.
Yeah, so every state and kind of what their state is known for.
Okay, I thought you meant like all Colorado.
Some of them are stretched sometimes, but.
Okay, I was like, do you have like Rocky Mountain oyster mac and cheese? Because I didn't see that on the menu.
That would be an interesting one for sure. So we have 47 different states right now, but we're working up to having all different states.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. And so you opened this 5 years ago, you said, by yourself?
It's a family run. My mother is kind of the business savvy one, so she does all the logistics.
Okay.
And my father does all the shopping and stuff, but I do day-to-day operations. I run the shop.
How cool. Yeah. Okay, so it's family run.
Family run.
And it's so funny because I thought you were going to say like a partner or something like that at first, but your parents.
My parents.
So truly like family owned, local. That's awesome.
Yes. And we both live down the road. I live about 2 minutes up that way, and they live about 5 minutes down the road that way.
So do you drive white?
I drive.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, you walk.
Tell people that.
Come on, it gets really cold up here.
It does.
You need to drive sometimes. Okay, so for context, and by the way, thank you so much for agreeing and saying yes to being on the show.
My pleasure.
We met, for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So how many people live in this town?
I want to say probably close to 900, I think is our population.
900 people. Okay. And how many restaurants are around these parts?
So the only establishments in Indian Hills are us, the post office, and Sit and And then there's a school, and that is it. Otherwise, it's all residential. So we're really a passerby kind of town.
Okay, truly you are.
Yes.
The good news is that this road, like if you want to come to a hike around here,
yes, and we are surrounded by hiking trails and trail ins. We have about 6 or 7 towards Morrison that way, and then you go to Evergreen, and there's a bunch more up there. So
that's the majority of the traffic
for sure
coming down these roads.
Sure, okay. And Red Rocks Amphitheater, when their shows were going on, brought us some customers as well too.
Okay, so when you opened 5 years ago, was it just the post office and the Sit and Bull Saloon?
Yep. This was a cafe before. It was 5 other cafes before us.
Oh,
actually.
wow.
Each having about a year to 2 year run. But it was hard then. There was less people in Colorado in general. And the traffic on this road is a lot less. So, I mean, we're fortunate in ways of having more people in Colorado and, having more people up in the mountains has helped our business.
Yeah, but that
overall,
boom really happened more than 5 years ago. I would say that really started happening closer to 7-8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. But we got some publicity. We won the Taste of Evergreen 3 years consecutively.
Okay, there you go. I was going to say, there's got to be something else.
The 4th year, we won the Denver Mac and Cheese Festival last year.
Okay, and by the way, I tried the mac and cheese last week. It's so good.
It's good.
I was like, I'm just going to have a bite. Being healthy, I went to town. Yeah. I ate the whole thing. It was so good.
Well, we don't cut any corners either. We use all real cheese. We blend all our own cheese. So,
Okay, I was going to ask you about this recipe because it's like, okay, it's to go, of course, right now because it's December 2020.
But they were all served that way before.
Oh,
they were
really?
Always served in those metal tins, so the transition came a little easier for us.
Yeah. Okay, so it's in a metal tin.
7-inch metal tin.
And it's had creamy sauce, and then it's baked with real cheese on top.
So we have our rotini noodles, our homemade sauce, which...
It's award-winning. Of course, you can't share the recipe.
And a 2-cheese blend goes on top, and that's our house mac. And then all of the other ingredients go on top.
God,
and then
that's so good. And how are you not huge? And is it hard to not eat it every day?
Yeah, when you make it every day, it becomes a little easier to eat.
Well, it's funny you say that. I used to work at the Sam Adams Brewery as a tour guide in Boston during college. It was really fun. And then when you first start, you're like, I can drink beer at lunch. And then quickly you're like, I can't. So I get that. Yeah. Okay. So before we really get into this year and talking about what it's like being a restaurant owner, which is a unique experience in a small town like this during this year.
And before this year, it was interesting as well.
Yeah, I want to know, talk to me about this 5-year or really 4 years before this. You got those awards, you started getting accolades, people started knowing you.
Yeah. And we became a destination spot. I mean, we have customers that come in and say that they just flew in and we were their first stop for beer.
Really? Yeah. That's so cool.
So, I mean, word of mouth is everything. And we never paid for advertising or only advertising when we first opened this Facebook. And we stuck with that a lot. We never paid for, we do the local newspaper ads and such, but it became word of mouth and
Congratulations. That's so cool.
And 4 years blew up.
I mean, hey, when you have a quality product, and it's so cute, and did it help that everybody in the town knew you and knew that you were locals, or was that the same with all the cafes?
We had a base. I think we had a base of support, for sure, knowing that I was from here, and my high school would have been relevant. I think that for sure helped.
Totally.
But yeah, I just think we took great pride in the product that we were making. We knew it would be a fun thing that everyone loves mac and cheese, right? So
Definitely.
we just kind of wanted to do the most we could with it, and the idea took off.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Mac and cheese and mountains.
And the rustic vibe.
Yeah,
came naturally.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
So my father, it's funny because my parents are small business owners, and my dad always said to me, he's like, okay, never ever would I ever open a restaurant because the waste is outrageous. To actually be able to produce a profit is really hard because the margins are so slim. Mm-hmm. And then you have coronavirus this year. So, okay, time to really get into it. Let's back up a lot. Mm-hmm. And actually, before I even do that, so was there trepidation about opening the restaurant because of all of that I was just talking about? Or were you all like, we're going to do this, it's going to be great?
My first job when I was 15 was in a restaurant. And then through college, I went out to New York and went to college out there and also bartended and served and managed. So I have extensive experience, not as owning, because that's a completely whole different ballgame. But when it comes to operations and, margins and stuff like that, I have an understanding. So, and my mother kind of being the business savvy that she is, we thought it would be something that we could take on.
Yeah.
And figure out. Hopefully.
Badass ladies. I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So, I had restaurant experience myself, but, when it comes to owning one, it's definitely a whole new ballgame.
Got it.
It's trial and error.
Totally.
A lot of times too.
And was there a point before 2020 where you thought, we're successful, we've done this?
Yeah. Every year we've been open, we have doubled our numbers. customers.
Whoa, Alton,
And
congratulations.
And then being also in the restaurant industry and knowing some professionals when I worked in New York, they always told me the number one thing when it comes to customer base is you always want return customers, but your percentage of customers, a high percentage of your customers needs to be new customers as well. And so I've seen over the years that is every single day, as much as we have return customers, at least 50% of our clientele is brand new.
Thank
On a
God you
daily
happen to be in a
basis.
touristy kind of area.
And we're in a beautiful place that people love to come to. Mountains are
It's been my lifeline this year.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Things move a little slower up here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the best.
But it's a nice place to come and sit down and relax.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you were feeling good. So December 31st, 2019, it's New Year's.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you felt going into this year?
Very positive, because every summer that we have come to every year has just exploded more and more. So there's always some nerves, you know what I mean? Like, are we going to be able to handle the influx this year? But we were positive. We were positive it's going to be crazy busy, more than it was the year before.
Oh, this is interesting because, so then in like March,
and still then, March.
When you would have really started finding out about COVID is when you're really amping up and gearing
We had our busiest February in our history.
Because it was warm-ish.
It was a warm
February.
It
was a mild winter,
and we were slammed for February.
Was there, and when did you hear about, okay, so you were already gearing up for that busy spring, summer that you were thinking about based on what was happening in February. Hiring new people.
Yeah.
How many employees did you have in February of 2020, let's say?
I have, what do I have right now? I have 6 now. I had 9.
That's a great ratio considering the size of the town that you're in, considering that you're a restaurant, all of that. That's actually pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And 6 people.
I mean, yeah.
In a town of 900 that's a lot, actually.
Yeah.
You should be really proud of that.
Yeah. And I'm very proud that we've been able to keep everyone employed through this as well. I still have my 6 people. We did have a positive COVID case, so we did have to shut down.
Okay, I was going to ask you about all this. Okay.
So we'll get to that. Though, yeah.
So February's busy, like December 31st, you're like, all right, how are we going to do this? But you're stoked.
Yeah.
Everything's positive, all good problems.
Yeah.
When did you first...
and approaching getting our liquor license, which is a monetary expensive.
So that was a plan already.
It was in motion.
Okay.
It wasn't actually in motion, but it was in conversation.
Which is so funny because it's like when I was driving by, I was like, oh yeah, cafe. They're gonna have beer. Like, of course they would. I imagine that actually was a problem for people.
Well, we always hesitated, and we didn't get it because there's a bar right down the street, and we didn't want to,
Oh, and it's so local and small.
Right.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like mac and cheese and beer.
Yeah, go hand in hand, literally.
So it was in the works for this year, and then once COVID came about, and financially it was tough because it's like it's a big chunk of money to even pay your liquor license, but the profit will, the goal is for it to make that.
Yeah.
But with COVID then hitting, we knew we had to take it in the year because we were assuming that we were going to be extra.
Isn't that interesting? So with COVID coming, even with that extra expense, you thought, okay, this is how we could recoup it,
right?
Maybe.
Or potentially bring in more income.
Which, again, even thinking about me as a customer, I come in and you didn't have beer, I probably would have turned out and walked away
which
immediately.
A lot of people did before.
Yeah, okay. So when did you first hear about COVID, though? Truly, because if you're in a small mountain town...
I remember hearing about it in China. I remember hearing from China News that there was something going on over there.
Okay.
And then I remember speaking to my mother about it. And
do you remember when that was, by the way?
It had to have been the end of February, beginning of March.
Okay. Which at that time it was in the U.S.
What was the date?
So it's interesting. I know time is so weird. Isn't it crazy that it was a year?
Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
So it's been over a year that it's been in China, which is nuts because it first started there in November of 2019. Right. Really first started happening here in February. We didn't really start hearing about it in the U.S. until March. At which time it was already crazy in Europe. Mm-hmm. Okay, so end of February, March.
Yeah.
And
but at that time, I still didn't really understand what all of this was going to lead to.
That was my question. Like, did you even think that it was going to affect your town of 900?
I was like, okay, there's a serious flu coming over. Like, this could be bad. But, I mean, none of this was in my realm of understanding.
Okay.
I don't think it was in anyone's, honestly.
Totally. No, and then it happened so fast.
Yeah.
Because by St. Patty's Day, which was March 17th.
That's when it all shut down.
Denver was shut down. Mm-hmm. Did it apply out here?
Yes. I think Jeffco came a few days later.
Oh, you're Jeffco because you're Morrison still.
Yeah, Jefferson County, which became one of the high case counties pretty quickly.
Well, because everyone's coming out here to go hiking and stuff.
Yeah.
And what about hospitals out here, by the way? Where do you go?
We go down the hill. We go to Swedish.
Okay, so there's nothing actually here.
25 minutes from here. 30 minutes. Evergreen has a hospital, but it's not a.
But there's not enough, to handle what could happen in these small mountain towns. Okay.
No.
So, end of February, early March, business is booming. You're not even thinking twice about it. 2 weeks later, 2.5 weeks later, shut down. What were you thinking then? Do you remember?
So inside of the cafe, we used to have a capacity of 15. So we had seats in there. We had probably 20, 25 seats that could seat people, which I remember in February we had. I mean, we were just packed. And we had just remodeled. We put a bar in here for bar seating inside. Anyway, so then COVID hit and we had to shut down the entire inside, which wasn't big to begin with, but again, all of our indoor seating.
Okay, so you have 25 seats inside. What do you think the outdoor capacity? Well, I'm sure you know the outdoor capacity.
Yeah, I want to say our capacity is probably 70.
Okay, so it's always bigger outside.
Yes, always bigger outside.
God, it's amazing. I mean, in so many ways, you were set up for this.
Yes. So, like I said, when COVID hit, the transition for us was kind of simple because we are takeout oriented to begin with. They come in this 7-inch tins and we put a lid on. That's how we've always done it. So that transition was easier for us. Shutting the inside, again, didn't take away much of our capacity to begin with, but it actually helped our kitchen flow because we've now made the entire inside the kitchen.
Okay.
So and that actually helped our production and able to push out more food at a faster rate. And
ain't that interesting?
So we've actually benefited on that side of things by making the entire inside the kitchen.
Wow. Okay. So I'm trying to remember, though, when the restaurants shut down. Actually, no, there was never a point where you couldn't get takeout. Like there was
you could always get takeout and delivery.
There was never full closure.
Right.
Okay, so
and everyone scrambled. When the shutdown happened, everyone scrambled to figure out operations. Like we didn't deliver, but we offered now delivery when we went to shutdown because we were just trying to, provide any avenue for people to make it easiest for everybody.
Oh, okay. Is there Grubhub or Uber Eats out here?
Yes.
Okay.
They actually, Uber Eats, Grubhub, Postmates, and DoorDash all started delivering to Indian Hills, but just my road.
Oh,
so I think it's mostly because it's right off 285, but they don't go past Cinnamon.
Okay. Wow, which is like nothing.
Which is nothing, yeah.
Because really
so
most
it's like
of
25 houses probably that they deliver to here. But anyway, and we actually went against Postmates, DoorDash, and Uber for our restaurant. We are not a part of them.
Well, because I was going to ask you, and I've heard mixed things about this, that you might actually end up losing money. Like you don't actually end up making
a lot of the money goes to them. Goes
right.
to Postmates, Uber Eats, and also you can't monitor the quality in which your food gets there.
Which mac and cheese is actually really important,
right.
But it gets there.
Yeah, and it gets there, like together. So we went against all of that. And I know a bunch of businesses up here did because of quality issues.
Yeah, it's actually, and it just does not support local small businesses as well.
And Postmates does it without your consent.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Which I don't know how they do that legally. I know there was a restaurant group in California that legally went up against them.
Wow.
Because they can do it without your consent.
Wow.
Yeah. So we kind of went against all that.
That's wild. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's a whole other side of the restaurant world.
Right.
And it's
which has become big for people that don't have jobs. And I get it. Like restaurant people that lost their job in the restaurant, I know are turning to Postmates, Uber Eats, and getting jobs, which is good for them.
But does it really allow the restaurants to operate
or thrive
in the long term?
I don't
think
so.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation, I think. But.
Absolutely. Okay. So you have now been able to transition to delivery. You already were takeout mainly. You already had this awesome outside setup. Were you worried about actually coming into work though?
Yes. So
food safety.
And another side of it is that you think of all these restaurants and the people as like the life outside of the restaurant as well. Like I have an 18-month-old.
Okay.
And my parents, who are elderly, my dad's 70, and my mom's, they're high risk in the Corona world. So all of that I lost daycare.
Mm.
So now I'm running a restaurant with my 18-month-old in the restaurant.
Oh my gosh.
And then I had a nursery upstairs, so she would take naps upstairs in the crib and stuff. But I was literally running a restaurant and caring for my newborn.
Right, so because now they're 18
closed.
Months old. A year ago, they weren't 18 months old.
No, she was a year old.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was probably the hardest part for me was because my parents couldn't watch her again for the risk. And daycares were closed, so I had nobody to watch my newborn.
Where's the kid now?
She's in daycare.
Daycares are reopened. We'll see how long.
Yeah, we'll see how long. So, I mean, that's another challenge for people that own restaurants and have other situations.
Oh my God, yeah. And
not wanting to put my parents at risk too is a huge thing. So
of course it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Have you been able to see them and visit them?
Yes.
Coming into work every day?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you just see each other with masks on?
Okay. Masks on distance. They don't hold her right now, so again, that's a whole nother conversation of like the emotional strain that COVID has took on people too.
Oh my God, it's so intense. It's so intense. I have a niece and she's about to turn a year old and I haven't seen her since January.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah. Okay, so you are a working mom on top of it all. Holy moly. I'm so glad you have some sort of relief right now.
Yes. Right now.
Yeah, we'll see how long it lasts. So, okay, you mentioned in the beginning that you had somebody at the restaurant that tested positive. When did that happen?
That happened a month ago.
Okay, so because things kind of started to feel more or less more normal again as the year went on. So, okay, if that only happened a month ago, let's go back again to mid-March. Start doing takeout delivery. Did business dip, and when did it dip?
It did for sure. Initially, I think because people were scared. I think the fear overtook a lot. But business probably cut in half.
Like immediately. Overnight. Did you have backup funds? Were you able to still pay bills?
We were able to get the PPP loan, which was the payroll protection, whatever, which got us through the 3 months basically until it was able to open up again a little bit. And then the heat of the summer started to come back.
Had you not gotten that loan, do you think you would have been able to stay open?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, honestly, because number one, business going down. Number two, food costs going up. I mean, the price of pork and beef skyrocketed.
Oh, because of the supply chain.
Because of the supply chain. So number one, the food costs, and then all of the takeout stuff, all of the signage, all of the stuff that we had to spend money on, the tint, and now we're spending more money on to-go containers.
And sanitizer and cleaning
forks
supplies.
to go and sanitizers. And I hired a cleaning lady so we could sanitize it every morning. Like, that's another expense. So, like, as income went down, expenses skyrocketed, food costs skyrocketed. And then you have your employees that you might not be able to have on that you still want to give them assistance, you know what I mean? You can financially, but I mean, I understand how so many restaurants have gone out of business.
And it sounds like even restaurants that were doing really well and thriving because you were crushing it for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for the assistance that we got, I don't think we would have made it.
Dang. Okay.
And we've made it through this patch now, I think, and I think we'll be okay now.
Yeah, so we got to get there.
But
I mean, what were the conversations that you had with your employees throughout all of this?
It's kind of staying, present with them and letting them know, like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to keep showing up. Everyone has to stay healthy. That's number one. Like, your life affects mine now. So, and that's when you kind of start to realize the web and how extensive that web is and how your circle extends even more than you even realize. So, I don't know. It's just
that like 6 degrees of separation, or that Kevin Bacon game? It's actually like a real life thing now.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, wait a second. It's quite wild. Emotionally, and you kind of mentioned the emotional impact of COVID, but not only do you have a kid, right, that you're raising and bringing into the world in these times, you got your parents to think about, but you also have these other people's lives in your hand, in a way, livelihoods, I should say. Can we, and be as open or vulnerable as you can be or want to be. Talk to me about that. What's it like when you're at home at night and you're thinking, like, how are you doing and how have you gotten through?
Right. It's been hard. It's been emotionally hard. I have a great support system at home, my husband, who is fantastic. I don't know. I don't know how to be vulnerable or break down about it. I've cried. I've screamed. I've yelled. I've been frustrated. But at the end of the day, you have to get up and you have to keep going.
It's thank you for saying that. And I understand it's like you don't know how to do it because maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you did, could you keep going in the way that you need to?
Right.
It's like open that can of worms, and there is something to be said. It's like all the doctors and nurses, everyone on the front line, because as someone in the food service, you are on the front line. How else do you get through?
Yeah. And I speak to my employees too, and I let them know that they are important. You know what I mean? But you have to stay safe, keep your family safe, keep everyone around you safe, and that's the only way we can get through this, is staying together and keeping all of each other in mind.
Absolutely.
So we're a team, so we have to, fight together. And they've helped me through it too. You know what I mean? They keep my smile on my face too. So.
Probably feels more like a family now than it ever did before.
Yeah, for sure. These things bring you closer sometimes.
Oh yeah. By the way, speaking of the team and the family, so what happened a month ago? And what'd you do?
So my right-hand guy, Travis, his wife is a teacher.
Okay.
Assistant principal, in fact. And she was exposed to COVID through her secretary, and then she ended up coming up positive. So then she went home. Travis went home. They lived together. They slept in the same bed, and he ended up checking in and then coming to work.
Did he know that she had, like, what was the policy at that time?
The day that we found out was the day we shut down. Travis was at work, and his wife called and said, "Babe, my test came back positive." And then at that moment, I shut the restaurant down.
Wow.
I turned the oven off, and I said, "I'm sorry, guys, we have to go." Just because we are so close-knit in there that we are directly exposed. I mean, he works right on my right shoulder.
Are you wearing masks when you're working inside the whole time?
No. Not in the back of the line. Everyone in front, interacting with customers.
What's the policy on that?
Everyone interacting with customers has to have a mask on.
Okay.
People in the back in the kitchen not exposed. Don't have to.
Wow, interesting. I was wondering how that works. So they really are exposed if that's the case. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so his wife's test comes back positive.
Yeah. And then she calls us immediately.
She calls you. You shut the restaurant down.
Saying that we have someone who has been directly exposed to somebody who tested.
And we don't know what the case is, so we're being extra safe.
Yeah, and we told everyone we were all going to go get tested because we are so close knit. We want to keep all of our customers safe and all of our employees and their families safe. So we took a 14-day quarantine. Everyone got tested twice. Nobody came back positive. Everyone else was negative.
Wow, amazing.
So, and then we waited. It actually, the dates of our quarantine lined up with our Thanksgiving break. So we ended up taking the 14-day quarantine and then opening up after Thanksgiving break.
Okay.
So we ended up being closed, I think, for 3 weeks, which financially drained us.
I was going to say, okay, so when I came here last week, you had just been reopened.
That was the first week.
And you just got your liquor license. Mm-hmm. All right, so you shut down for 3 weeks.
and then came back with a boom.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when we were talking
and that's
about,
when we put our tent up as well.
okay, so we were talking about the cost of running and operating a restaurant and runway. I mean, 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Most people can't do that running a restaurant. So, okay, and now you're coming back with a boom. So hang on.
Yes.
So business dipped this summer. What was business actually like?
We maintained.
Did you ever get back to where you were last year?
No.
Okay. So even knowing that your business doubled year over year,
yeah.
you were never able to get back to even where
Not
you
yet.
were at last summer.
Not yet.
Okay, how close are you?
But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. This last week was the first week we were open after that 3-week hiatus. So, and it is December and January, which are our slower months in general. So it's almost impossible to compare numbers from this year to the year before because COVID is its own. 2020 is its own book.
Yeah, it is.
So none of the numbers will compare. None of them will make sense. So we're just we're trekking on and hoping to get back when things are normal again, back to where we were, and hopefully even busier than that. So.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm like, let me turn this camera real quick. All right, so this is the tent. Let that car go by. Okay, so this is the tent. This is the street. The truck is awesome. But this is the street, the tent. There's the actual restaurant there behind us, and of course now we're here back at the patio. So, it's the timeline of when you had to shut down is so interesting because, and it makes sense.
And nerve-wracking.
Yeah, absolutely. When the schools reopened, when cases started going up again in Colorado. I mean, it was about a month ago when all of a sudden it was like, wait, we're still in COVID because it really stopped feeling like that.
Which the summer can help. You can be outside, you know.
Yeah, you're in a mountain town. That's what people were living for.
And so, and in the summertime, our patio was always our outdoor seating. So that didn't change.
Right.
The only thing that changed is that everything is takeout.
Yeah.
So they would just grab their
and the
food
weather.
Yeah.
I mean, it's December. What's the date today?
Right
December 8th. It's like 60 degrees outside. I know we're all bundled up, but the sun's just started coming out. And it's December 6th. I mean, this is not normal weather. No. Every once in a while, you get a warm day. So it's
and if it's sunny and it's hot out, you'll be
open. And people in Colorado will come outside. Like this state is so cool.
Yes.
So you said, and all of that to say is like, in the last week that you've opened, you said you came back with a boom. Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah. So we were able to open with our beer and wine, which is huge for us. And I think it'll get more popular as people start to.
Well, you had no marketing before. Did you market that you were?
A little bit.
Okay.
I mean, we have more followers on Facebook now. When we started with 200, we now have almost 4,000. So
amazing.
Yeah, and then their friends share it. You know what I mean? So, but we're gonna get more signage and stuff. But our idea of beer as well too is to kind of have one while you wait, have one when you eat, and then
be gone.
Yeah. Because we are small and we have limited seating, and especially with COVID, we do have the tent. Like I said, the regulation wise, you can have a covered heated patio. So it's ventilated on both sides, and with the windows open, that's technically a covered patio. So we're able to seat 3 parties in there.
Fantastic.
Socially distanced. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was busy. It was nice. The weather always helps us. If it's cold, we're slower. But like I said, it's kind of a waiting game now. It's just kind of see. But right now we're making it. We're doing it. We're getting through. More assistance should be coming. I know there was a stimulus package put together for small businesses. So I mean, this second wave of COVID, hopefully there's more assistance given to some of these small businesses because this takeout shutdown is not as easy for some people.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, and there's plenty of food that it's not so easy to just do the takeout.
Right. Put it in a box and make it taste good when it gets like.
And you happen to have a meal that people love in the cold weather too.
Yes. And also what's beneficial for ours too is we do take and bakes. which are super easy to
Oh,
take
my
cold and you
God.
just pop it in your oven yourself.
Did you have that before
We
COVID?
had that before COVID too.
That's brilliant.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
brilliant.
But we pushed that. We pushed the take and bake a lot more with COVID too because it takes all of the risk out of it.
I'm like, oh my God, I want to tell my friends about
Yeah.
that. I love that idea.
And the transition too, I can talk about that a little bit too, is the operational transition, like having to figure out how we're going to do, crowd monitoring and control and getting the orders out and like everyone staying safe. Like that's a whole nother issue that restaurant employees have had to deal with is people's frustrations being taken out on us when these are not our rules. These are what we're being told is appropriate and safe for everybody. And you have your population of people that want to believe whatever they want to believe, but the reality is this is our only option. So I wish people would be a little kinder.
Okay, this might be a weird loaded question, so sorry in advance, but now that what you were just mentioning made me think of it. Colorado used to be a red state forever, and there's definitely parts of it that still are, and I would assume, and correct me if this is a wrong assumption, but it's a small mountain town, and when I drive through here, I see more Trump and Pence signs than I ever do in Denver. And not to get into politics too much,
which
but
I would like to avoid.
I'm just curious, based on those rules, if we have more people out here that, let's say, follow the lines of the current president, which was to say, hey, you don't need to take it as seriously as many other people would. Did that reflect in the town at all? Did you think you dealt with that more here than you would have other places?
I don't think we saw much more of that than in the other place.
Okay.
And again, a lot of my business is flatlanders, we like to call them.
Okay. Now I know where you lie. I didn't know where you lie, so okay. Now I know where you lie on things.
But yeah,
but I'm not wrong to think that in a smaller
I don't
town.
Think so. And we fought some resistance with people not wanting to wear a mask. I get it. We're outside. You're outside ordering. But again, it's within the proximity of everybody else. So, I mean, we've had to ask people to leave. We got some bad reviews for some of those situations. And that was early on in COVID.
Isn't that weird, though? Like, just because you happen to be the one owning the restaurant and needing to enforce the rules, you become the asshole?
I mean, I've had customers scream at me. Like, it's been a while. That part of it as well has been really wild because I know everyone's frustrated. And not everyone knows what to believe. But I think it comes down to respect and respect for everybody, respect for the establishment, respect for yourself on top of that. But so that's another part of this whole situation that has been hard is backlash, frustrating, not wanting to follow not our rules.
I can only imagine.
So, that was another emotional strain.
Yeah. Well, because... And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you grew up here. I imagine some of those people are people that you've known your whole life.
Sorry, we're on a busy road here.
It's funny because it's not like a busy road.
It's not.
But it is the main road around here, so if there's supplies or whatever, and we got all the trucks. Yeah, man, the emotional strain. I mean... I'm going to say this at the end, so sorry to repeat myself, but it's inspiring. You're really strong. It takes something to get through this, and this was not what you signed up for.
No, it's not what any of us signed up for at all. But, I mean, if you love what you do what you got to do.
Do you still have the same passion today as you did?
Maybe even more so. I think maybe
more so,
yeah.
That's really
cool. If we can make it through this, we can make it through this.
Absolutely.
I can put in our business plan that we're pandemic proof.
Yeah, you can. I feel like a lot of things. I mean, it's so funny because when you opened 5 years ago, there's no way you were thinking, "Oh, we're gonna do all this stuff, so we're set up for whatever." Okay.
And I do think that, and I've heard from other restaurants and businesses in general that COVID has now changed operations permanently. I think there's some restaurants that, and we're even considering staying the way that we are. Maybe not all takeout, you know what I mean? We'll go back to service. Keeping everybody from inside, utilizing the tent or shelter. Like,
Well,
of this will stay.
it's really funny that you're bringing this up because I was going to ask you, like, what do you think is going to permanently change? As a consumer, I'm sure you, come on, you're a consumer too, not just the business owner. Like being able to get a margarita to go in my own little carafe and walk around the city and like, it's like, why weren't we doing this before? And by the way, like, why did we fight to go booze so freaking hard? And we all have it now. And these little outdoor things, and people are doing the little mini greenhouses.
People are getting so creative and crafty with it. So, I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on too.
Yeah.
And I know it's challenging and it's hard for a lot, but the people that can make it through, people that are making it through are doing some
really cool stuff,
innovative stuff.
So, oh my gosh, my brain. Oh yeah, this is what I was going to say. So the food service industry, the restaurant industry, and it's funny because, I mean, this is not funny. It's really sad. I was listening to Daily. I don't know if you listen to that podcast, but so there have been 22 million jobs lost since the beginning of COVID. 10 million have been recovered. No, excuse me, 12 million recovered, 10 million still lost. 9 million of those are in the service industry, still lost. And in the biggest deficit that we had, the biggest recession that we had, which was back in 2010, there were only, I think, 9 million or 10 million jobs lost in the entirety of that recession. 9 million are in the service industry, still lost. It's insane.
Well, and if you look at the list of all the restaurants that are permanently shut down,
it's also insane
and sad.
It's so sad. And these were places
that have been around for hundreds of years.
Institutions, literally. An industry that I certainly thought was unsafe. I was a bartender for years when I was in school in Boston. And so, yeah, I want to get it. Like, what do you think are going to be the permanent impacts in the service industry, food service, both positive and negative? And we just started touching on it, but if there's anything you want to add.
I think on the positive side of things, I think operations have been made easier for takeout, which I think a lot of people like takeout, but I think a lot of it will come back to normal. And people love that dining experience as well. And it depends on the establishment you're at too. Like I said, we're kind of a more casual, come and go situation. When there's restaurants that you want to go and sit there for 4 hours, it's those restaurants that I hope can hold on. But on the negative side, I don't know.
It's like, okay, let's not even think about it. Yeah, we're talking about the permanent impacts to the restaurant industry.
Right.
I just think it's totally like,
I mean, this might shy a lot of people away in the future from opening restaurants.
Maybe. And it's funny that you say that because I just saw there's a Thai restaurant across the street from me, basically, that's opening now. Yep. And I'm like, what? Like, you have to be out of your mind to open a restaurant
and that's another thought too. Right before COVID hit, we were actually seriously contemplating opening up another location, a second location. Well, that's been kaput. I mean, for the foreseeable future, because number one, people aren't investing in restaurants right now. And that financial burden to open a restaurant during COVID.
It's nuts.
I would say I have a business model that I could probably do something with, but again,
well, I think that like one of the changes that's going to happen, I don't know what your business model was, but there are like food trucks, right? Were a big thing, but it's pre-order all your stuff online, then come to our food truck and take it to go or eat it there. So it's about getting innovative and creative. At the end of the day, people are always going to want to go get food because people are going to cook. They're lazy. They don't have time, whatever it is. But I don't know that dine-in service, like you're talking about, the like go out to the fancy. I mean, I just don't know if I'll ever want to sit inside at a restaurant again. Like outside all day, every day. So I think that
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So
there might be a shift in
just the mentality and attitude towards it, but I don't think it's going anywhere. And I'm actually really excited about where it's going. I just don't think like a server is going to be needed anymore.
Right.
Or a bartender in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think restaurants will exist.
Yeah.
Just the surface part of it.
Right. It's going to be different. Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty cool.
Less hands-on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Alton, I've asked you a lot of questions. I'm like,
I hope
there's so many things I want to know, but you did. You were amazing.
Good.
I only know what I know as somebody who's never owned or operated a restaurant of what to ask you.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Is there anything I didn't ask that you think we should know about what it's been like this year to be in your shoes or to have this place?
I mean, I think I've said it's been the hardest year that I could imagine for. And when I thought it was harder before, let's just say that, because every year getting busier comes with new challenges and wanting to keep the customers impressed with new stuff, and like those are always challenges. Would I open a restaurant knowing? I don't know. It's been really hard. It's been emotionally straining. But I think at the end of the day, people will become stronger from it. And like you said, I think restaurants will get innovative, and it will be exciting to see what people will come up with.
It's funny that I think people will become stronger.
Yeah.
Look at yourself.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so inspired by you. And even just like the way in which you're carrying yourself in this conversation is inspiring. Who says the like cliched line, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger? I mean, it is true this year.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've really covered all of our bases.
I'm positive for the future.
Great, because that's how I like to end. I am always a glass half full kind of person, and in complete darkness is when light shines the brightest.
I agree.
Why we have all these innovations when humans are backed up against the corner, it's sometimes when the coolest things happen.
Exactly.
It's hard and sad, but true.
Yeah.
So
but
I want to
shine out of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you said that, because I want to end on what are you excited for looking into 2021?
It can't get any worse, right? Well, I better not
That's
say
what
that.
they keep saying. I know, like, knock on wood
So
somewhere.
I'm excited for our future. I'm excited to see what else we can come up with. And, you know, I'm talking to somebody, consulting with somebody, and potentially still looking at a second location. So I'm excited for what our future holds.
I'm only laughing at you because literally 3 minutes ago, you're like, would I open a restaurant again? And then I stopped. I was sitting there thinking, well, yeah, she was just talking about opening. So, okay, you actually might do that.
Yeah. So, I mean,
this is why you couldn't,
conversation.
This is why you couldn't share the business plan, because it might happen. Okay. It's like your secret recipe. Yes. Okay, well, I'm putting out the positive vibes for you. I hope it happens.
Thank you.
Okay, keep going. So, what else are you excited about in 2021?
I don't know. Everything. What are you excited about?
What am I excited about in 2021? Well, I just got a job. Literally yesterday, got the offer. So, thank you. I'm really excited about that. Which is like, you're thinking about opening a second restaurant. Yeah. I just got a job with the offers, making more money than I ever have in my life. Going into the second, third, whatever round of this, like, good things can happen if you keep persevering and putting action
and
to it.
You have to stay fun. Yeah, exactly. Putting action to it.
It's not just thinking.
And we've also taken over the second floor and the third floor of the building. And we have opened a yoga studio on the third floor.
Shut up.
So
congratulations.
Unfortunately, with COVID, you know, we can't really get that ball rolling quite yet. But I'm excited for that as well. We have 3 instructors on the books. So we're going to get the yoga studio up and go and do some meditation classes.
Oh my God, I love
And then the second floor will be additional seating.
I'm like, oh, you feel shitty about all the mac and cheese you just ate? Go do some yoga.
There's 3 flights of stairs you can walk up and then go do some
Or you're like
yoga.
super sore from your hike, take a yin yoga class.
There you go, have a glass of wine.
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So
okay,
yeah,
so you have some good things in the works.
We're excited.
Funny, I was wondering if you lived up there or not.
I did.
Actually. You did at some point.
I did. I think it was the second year we had this place. I lived on the 3rd floor.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
For about 6 months.
I mean, if you're making the other thing I was thinking is like, if you're making pork and all this stuff every day and like smoked, like it would stink to live out there.
And sometimes you need to get away.
Yeah. That's way
we
too
live here
close.
anyway, so.
Well, it has been such a pleasure speaking to you, and like
you too.
Again, inspired by this story. The mac and cheese is delicious. If you're in Colorado, come eat here or get it to go.
Yes.
But yeah, is there anything else that you want to share before we totally wrap it up?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Be kind to one another.
Yes, be kind. It's free.
Yeah, it's free.
And it's pretty easy.
Charge.
And it's pretty easy. You're badass. Thanks again, Alton.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the One World, Your Story podcast. If you enjoyed hearing this story and you wish to hear more, make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube, and of course, follow us on Instagram at OneWorldYourStory. From all of us here at the One World, Your Story podcast, we are sending you so much joy and love. Have a wonderful rest of your day.